while I'm here in beautiful Minnesota, I really want to learn something, how we can learn from Minnesota to help us in Texas to be better prepared.
So ways that a state can prepare is going to really, the benefits are going to be so numerous. And one really critical component that Minnesota really participated in is for probably the last 15 years, we have something called the Emergency Disease Management Committee for poultry. And it's comprised of our state regulators, academia, and industry. And they essentially met to have a low pathogenic avian influenza plan. But having those meetings allowed them to all be on the same page. They are learning about each other. And so they've established these relationships. So the establishment of the EDMC for poultry was really critical by the time high path avian influenza hit. We were then meeting weekly, and that's where industry could come with concern. And the regulators could hear it. They're the ones responding. But our companies were also responding internally. Right. Academia could be present to say, we can help with it. And it was such a great cohesive group to really help get everybody through the outbreak. And it has been so successful that they've also now set up a second EDMC for our swine industry. So they have quarterly meetings, there's committees. So they are already preparing for an ASF outbreak or an FMD outbreak. And the same concept is present there, where there's industry represented. There's the regulators from USDA and from Minnesota, and they're all talking and having those conversations and setting up what preparedness is. I realize Texas is much more grand in scale than Minnesota, but still to start those conversations so that everybody is on the same page and that you can accommodate this different species group. Game bird industry here in Minnesota they've sort of been on the outside perimeter of our EDMC. They've been invited. They know what's going on in the poultry industry. But until 2022, they weren't really affected. But now they're here and we're able to include them. They are understanding how we would depopulate an upland game bird farm is very different than how we can depopulate a commercial turkey farm.
Yeah.
And so the upland game bird producers having those relationships already, they're comfortable asking those hard questions, talking to our subject matter experts who actually come to depopulate birds, talking to our subject matter experts who are composting those birds or where the disposal point will be. They can have those conversations so they are prepared and they know ahead of time what to expect. Granted, things will have to shift and pivot, but they know overall what to expect. And that's where those emergency disease management committees have really been helpful for all of our affected producers.
That sounds like a really great plan. Of course, we can learn a lot from you guys. So when you mentioned overall, you guys have like the industry folks joining those meetings. Can you tell me a little bit how they contribute and how you guys interact?
Of course, the meetings have been mostly virtual.
Right.
They have had in-person meetings annually.
Right.
The representation from the companies have been vice presidents of production, the veterinarians who work for those companies, our upland game bird breeders are actually the farm owners, but they're also the ones doing the hatching. They're doing the raising of the birds. They're doing the selling of the birds. So there are different positions. And what's essential there is they are the boots on the ground. They are the people who are actually interacting with employees. They're actually the ones watching what's happening on the farm premises, where the regulators are here in St. Paul or they're at our emergency operations center. They are not understanding what's truly happening in present time on the farm premises. So that industry input is almost like a reality check. And similar to how Aaron and I discussed earlier about biosecurity plans, you can have things written on paper, but whether or not that's how it can be implemented is a different story. So that's a relationship with industry versus our regulators
Yes.
on the EDMC.
Exactly. It really takes us some time to build this connection and we
Mhm.
work together. That's the most important. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad that there's this network and everyone's together on the same page.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank
Yep.
you.